he talked about his warrior dividend. He said the 1.45 million military personnel are going to receive $1,776 before Christmas. And he says it's recognition for their service and sacrifice. He says one time it's coming from tariffs because the big, beautiful bill tonight, I'm proud to announce, more than 1.45 million service members will receive a special we call warrior dividend. A warrior dividend in honor of our nation's founding in 1776. We're sending every soldier $1,776. The checks are already on the way. I think this is better than choosing another group of people, who's poor, and let's give them the money. I don't like when the government hands out money, but if anybody, they're already on the payroll and they're underpaid, and if anybody can use it, it's the military. $1,700 is a huge amount for most people in the military. Gigantic amount. That will make an actual impact in the people's lives who I think actually deserve. We don't do enough for our military. And so it's the best kind of, stimulus package I've ever seen, although this isn't a stimulus package, I don't think. Even though these people are going to pump it into I can guarantee you they're going to get it and they're going to use it on their family for Christmas, which, will stimulate the economy so much. Warrior dividends. How do you feel about that, Stu?
A bit conflicted for a few reasons.
Yeah.
I obviously 100% agree with you that our military members deserve more money, and I'm excited they're going to get it. And I have my feeling on that from a general perspective is very, very positive. Like, if we're going to give money to anybody,
likewise,
our military
should
is
be them.
Great. And, so
yep.
That's obvious. But I had a couple of concerns. One being, we're not exactly at a place where we just have tons of extra money lying around to throw around to people. I know the argument is with tariffs that we have enough, but of course that pays only for a slight amount of our deficit, right? So this is all money that we don't actually have, number one. And number two, and I don't really understand, maybe you have a better understanding of this, but like my understanding of the mechanism of how we spend money as a government is that the Congress passes a bill to allocate money when you're talking about a policy like this. And I think the president's heart...
You got rid of that under Obama.
Well, I didn't get rid of it.
Congress. No, I know. It is still the law of the land, but nobody's paying attention to it anymore. Congress doesn't even pay attention to it anymore. They don't seem to care.
Now, and the other thing with this part of it, particularly, Glenn, is quite obviously there would be very little resistance to a bill that did this. If you put a bill in front of Congress that said we're going to give a bonus of $1,776 to all of our military members, I would love to do it just to dare the Democrats to vote against it, right? Like, even take out all the concerns about spending. This obviously would pass because no one would have the balls to vote against it outside of like Rand Paul and Thomas Massey. Like that, there'd be a couple people, but it'd be pretty limited.
Right.
It could have gone through the normal processes. I don't know if Trump is just saying like, I want to be, I want to dare someone to try to stop me here, or if it's just, look, there's a pile of money in a military budget somewhere that he can move around and he has control of it because he's commander in chief. I don't really understand the mechanism, so I have some questions around that. But, of course, generally speaking, when you're thinking of the most offensive things that the government does, giving our military more money is nowhere near the top of that list.
Is not what it.
Yeah.
Is not it. Not it. They deserve it.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the Republicans passed something. I love this. They just passed their health care plan, which is just stay with Obamacare, without re-upping the insurance part of it. So they're not for the subsidies. This is not going to pass. This is just something that they passed, in the House. It's not going to make it past the Senate, not going to go to the president's desk. Here's what's going to happen. You're going to see the House and the Senate. No, let me rephrase that. I started that with a lie. While you're not paying attention this Christmas, you will not see, but it will happen anyway, the House and the Senate will re-up the insurance subsidies, and they will pass this healthcare thing while nobody's paying attention. And then it'll be over. That's exactly what's going to happen. There's not a chance we come back and on January 5th and we say, oh my gosh, look, they're going to close down the government because they didn't pass this healthcare thing. Well, good for the Republicans for having a spine and standing up. Nope, not going to happen.
It does appear the chance of the Republicans folding here is approaching 1 trillion%. I don't know. Yes. We're having major inflation.
I would say 38 trillion.
Okay, there you go.
38 trillion%. Yeah.
I don't know, because basically what has happened is enough Republicans have already folded on this for a 3-year extension of these subsidies, which again is a giveaway on top of the normal Obamacare to make it Obamacare turbo and lock in even higher subsidies because the old Obamacare plan failed. So that is what we're talking about here. So going back to Obamacare as passed is now the worst thing in the world to even the Democrats. Fascinating. But they have enough Republicans who have changed sides on this. And they are now, the Democrats have enough votes to force a vote on this bill, which almost definitely will pass the House because they already have the votes, and other Republicans will want to now change sides so that there's a public vote. So it will likely pass there. It's possible, obviously, that they stop it in the Senate. They could stop it in the Senate. I don't know. I don't think that there's much appetite to stop this, honestly, at the end of the day. You probably will have a chance of doing it in the Senate, though. That's our best chance. My guess is what happens is once the pressure is there, they find a way to maybe adjust it and do a year or something like that gets them past the election. But of course, what happens in a year? And we all know what happens in a year. It's the same thing that's going to happen this year. It's the same thing that happened 4 years ago when the first part of this bill went away in 2022. Or 2021, they came in and they said, okay, let's extend it for 4 more years. So my guess is there's probably going to be some adjustments to this plan, but I do not expect at all the Republicans to hold the line on this. Not only do they no longer want to get rid of Obamacare, they don't even want to get rid of Obamacare Turbo. They passed this thing yesterday, which does give them the argument to say, hey, we did pass something. We do have a plan. It's right here.
Stu,
but that's all.
Understand the reality. Understand the reality. We can't get things done unless we have the House and the Senate and the White House and the Supreme Court. So we just have to wait until we have a time when what?
Glenn, I have breaking news. We've got all that. We've got all of that right now. Now, I will say there is a filibuster in the Senate that does hold you up a little bit. Yeah,
it's not as big as we need it or really want. We have to have the House, the Senate, the White House, and the Supreme Court. But we have to have more than what we said when we said those things. We just need those, all 3 branches of government. We need all 3 branches of government, but more. It's like we need that turbo, kind of like Obamacare turbo. It's never quite enough to get the job done.
Never is, Glenn. I really do expect if we had a 9-0 Supreme Court, the presidency, and 534 combined congressmen and senators, they'd say, we got to get that last one. We can't do this with this guy over here. There's one Democrat in Congress. We can't do this. That's exactly what I would expect. It's
standing in the way.
It's pathetic. But, it reminds you that your goals are not their goals. That's what I keep coming back to forever, Glenn. When we started this show, I will say I started the show very young. I was in my early 20s and didn't really understand lots of things. I was unfortunately learning from you, which have obviously turned into a catastrophe. But as I learned here at the beginning, my thought was us as conservatives, as Republicans, as the right, agree on a lot of different things, and there are disagreements as to how we get there. Right. There are sometimes people think we need to kind of fold, or sometimes we need to compromise and we have to move slowly. And some other people are over there saying, hey, no, we got to go all the way right now. We're going to go all the way. And there's that disagreement. You remember this from going back in history, right? Slavery was like this. There were some people who were like, abolish, abolish, abolish. And others were like, gosh, I don't think we can do that. We got to finagle. We got to work around the edges. Every big debate has had that. What I learned over time is that actually the goals aren't the same. When we are saying, hey, we need to make sure government is smaller and more limited, that's not the goal of most of the people on quote unquote our side in Washington. They don't share those goals. So they're working for something completely different. They're not going to what we want as a typical American conservative. We're inching towards some of those goals, but also like when we need to give up on them and go the completely opposite direction to keep these guys in office for a couple more years, fine. And that's what's really frustrating here.
So let me give you some good news, and then I'll spoil it for you. But some good news: the House has just passed legislation that makes performing transgender surgeries on minors a felony. Now, here's the bad news: it passed 216 to 211. That means, really, there are 211 Democrats that actually, in their heart of hearts, think that cutting into minors, cutting the breasts off, at this point, now that we have all the data that we have gathered over, 5 years of doing this to children, at this point, there's still 211 that firmly believe, no, damn it, we should cut off the breasts, a healthy breast off of a healthy minor. We got to make those decisions and let a 12-year-old make that decision. A 15-year-old should make that decision. Really? No. It's just politics. And if they do think they believe it because they've been party brainwashed. How many of us on any and all sides, how many of us actually believe something and have thought it through? And how many of us are just kind of zombie following the crowd? I contend most people are just zombie following the crowd. Whether that might even be a crowd now of like, you know what? Charlie Kirk was killed by his wife. There's all kinds of zombie crowds. And they don't require you to think at all. They just require you to sign up for the team. And that's my biggest problem with the Republicans is I'm not on a team. When I left Fox, Roger Ailes said to me, you know what your problem is? And I said, no, but I know you're going to tell me. No, I don't, sir. What is my problem? He said, you won't play the game. He said, they're well-established rules. If you need a pound of flesh, you take a pound of flesh from me. But then you owe me a pound of flesh. And so when I need a pound of flesh, I'm going to come and take it out of you. And then we go out and we have dinner with each other. And I was just astounded that was actually spoken out loud. And I said, see, here's the problem. I don't believe it is a game. I actually believe in something. And I thought more people believed in something. Don't you feel like you just want somebody to go in, like Mr. Smith goes to Washington, and actually believe in something? And then when they find out, wait a minute, I've been duped, like Mr. Smith goes to Washington, they stand up and go, this is wrong. And I'm not playing that game. And I don't want to play that game. And then you kind of, again, there's so many hoops you have to jump through for this to happen. Then you actually have to believe there are other people in Congress or in the Senate that are like, you know what? He's brave enough to say it. I'm going to stand up next to him. I remember when I was young and naive, and I believe those things would happen. I still believe they can happen, but only when the American people return to common sense and demand it.
Thank you for thinking for yourself and being part of a movement, because that's really what all of this is. If you want the full story, you want to go deeper, go to blazetv.com/Glenn. Go there right now, sign up, no interruptions, just the truth, uncensored and unfiltered. Don't just watch, take a stand. And I'll see you over there in a minute.